How you doing? Today we're going to be looking at a JDM Supra. It just got brought in and it literally just arrived yesterday from the Long Beach Harbor. So what I'm going to be doing is just inspecting the car, going over it with you guys, and just showing you what I'm looking for, because he just wants to know any issues or any problems he's going to run into. And that's pretty simple. We're not going to be modifying it at this time. However, people change their minds sometimes. So let's look at it together, and you can sort of see what Japan does to their Supras. So yeah. So here is a 1995 Toyota Supra turbo manual from Japan. This guy lived in Japan for quite a while and owned this for, I believe, about 5-6 years. So they have a different way of doing things in Japan versus how most American shops do it. You can see some of the marking from the shipping. They like their stickers. It does have a rear battery mount. Now, that's not going to comply with anything in America. So a little bit of a, did you know, in America, they want you to put that in a battery box. So for pretty much anything, for daily driving, for track racing, whatever it is. So that would not be legal here. So that's a tick on the sheet. The other thing I'm going to be looking at is the condition of the body. Now you can see, it's kind of hard to see on the screen, but it's got some damage on this. I believe this is a knockoff. I could be incorrect on this, but I believe this is a knockoff wing, or the wing was destroyed at one point in fiberglass. It's either or. Yeah, so either it's a knockoff or it was just destroyed and very poorly fiberglass back together. So to figure out what the condition of the car is, I have this handy little paint depth gauge. So what this basically does is measure the distance between the contact there and the metal of the car. So it's just showing you the measurement. So that's what that FE stands for. That's iron. So it says 0.165 newton meters or nanometers. So, oh, well, don't drop it. Okay. Oh, I broke it. Yeah, don't drop your really expensive tools. Okay. So 0.170, 0.169, 0.149, 0.12. Basically, we're looking for some outrageous numbers. So I don't think this has been painted. Yeah, if we have some outrageous numbers, like if it goes up to like 2, then we know it's got a paint job on it. Oh, are these aluminum? I believe they are. So the car doesn't look too bad. It's probably a little bit of a touch up over here in the corner. Well, that covers our paint portion. Okay. Now we have the interior. So you can see the seats faded. This is for a skinny person, not for a big fat dude like me. They did do the little hydro dipping, but it's obviously very old. It's starting to peel. Not really a permanent thing, but that's a hydro dipped dash. Basically, it's paint that in water that they dump the object into. Has a lot of Japanese stuff. Speakers poorly done. Those are the JDM cloth seats, and there are some leather seats. So it's a lot of hodgepodge mixing. So a little thing we found out when I checked the car out is that, so he has said that it's a 100 octane tune with 700 horsepower. Now, this should show you the difference in technology and how far technology has come, because if I can find there it is. Okay, so this has, according to the owner, it has a 3.2 liter stroker kit, forged bottom end, forged crank rods and pistons, has cams, I believe stage 2 cams, HKS, obviously pretty much belt, timing pulley and all that stuff, Kevlar serpentine belt, Sparka hoses. It looks like it has a Greddy turbocharger that is a, let me see, it is a, I can't read it, T70. It's a 70 mil, I think it's a 70 mil turbo. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. Please don't quote me on that. I can't read that too well. Has a Greddy front mount. Now the front mount is very thin, so that's a problem. Has a Greddy intake, so it has pretty much Greddy everything. SARD, fuel system, standard fuel lines, and fuel pressure regulator, and then it has an ABS lockout. So they disabled the ABS, and I believe this is for burnouts. I could be incorrect, but that's what I think that is. There's a little switch in there. The other thing we found out is has a triple plate clutch into it, and it also has an ATS rear track stiff, with a drift diff with a steel disc. It's actually what I had in my car. So this is what I was going to explain with technology difference. With this car, he's maxing out at 700 horsepower and 100 octane. It's running a HKS FCON 5, I believe, which I don't know what year that's from, but it's very old. So it's running an outdated computer system and old fuel systems. So these are 800cc injectors. So the only way you can make high horsepower with those size injectors is going to be high octane. So this is the difference in technology. So that turbo is a bit old, so that is a limiting factor here. So the fact that this is a forged, assuming what the owner says is correct, and this is a forged internals, assuming everything's been upgraded, like the crank support, I forgot what they're called, the crank fucking bearing captive things. As long as those have been upgraded and the everything else is forged, this long block should theoretically be good for about 1,000 to 1,200, 1,000 to 1,200 usually, for how much it could handle. The turbo, that turbo size, you could probably max it out, like absolutely like puffed to the max, probably like 800, 850. So, but this is all basically with E85, because we're in California, so 91 doesn't really develop anything. So if I retune this for 91, it's probably going to make around about 500 horsepower at best. And so, but this is what I was going to explain. So you pull these injectors out, replace them with like 1,600 or 1,800 cc's. I would actually personally go 16, but or 12, sorry. But with these, you could probably go like a 2,000 cc injector, ID injector dynamics, change the fuel lines, so those are actually trash. Put the PTFE, which is the 85 hoses, run a triple Walbro fuel pumps inside the back. Get an AEM just because it's cheap. Obviously, there's much better than AEM, but that's the cheapest option. And a bigger turbo. And I say that's all, but it really, in perspective for how much this would cost, it really is that's all, because building one of those probably costs you about 12, 20 grand, depending on if you're paying someone or doing it yourself. So turbo is probably gonna set you back, for cheaper turbo like 3 grand, more expensive turbo like 6 grand, and then the fuel injection system will probably say back anywhere between 2 and 8, depending on how crazy you want to go. But yeah, with all that, once it's tuned, that should easily make on E85 about 1,000, like pretty easy. Another problem that this car has with older technology, just so a lot of you guys, if buying used parts, is because it has an HKS FCON, it doesn't have parameters for cold start. and it's also locked. But it doesn't have parameters for cold start to adjust for the cams and everything. So what we do with the AEMs is we'll raise the idle to 1,000, and then we will also have a separate map for cold start and E85 start and et cetera, et cetera. Also, another question I have, did Japan put their own idle motor on here, or are they using the factory one? That is a good question. So that's another good question. We'll see what it has. We'll have to find out soon. All right, let's get this fucking car wrecked. Okay, so we are under the 1995 Turbo Supra. Looks like it has relatively new coilovers. Those look like HKS coilovers. Yes, they are. SPs. And we got ourselves a bit of a leak somewhere. So it's obviously hasn't been too old, so that's a pretty new. They probably had this diff out recently. They did not do the bushings, which is kind of strange, but that's not something that's wrong. Brakes are stock. We have a braided line there, and our oil leak, where is it coming from? It's coming from our favorite spot. So this is what happens when an oil leak has rubber. Rubber starts to swell. Let me see if I can get a light. So it is coming from the shift. Looks like a little bit from the shift bushing, the shift rod bushing up top, and also from the rear output shaft bushing. I do this all the time, very common. So that's the only oil leak I can see. And it has a push conversion kit. So this changes the clutch from a pull type to a push type. So usually the factory slave cylinder goes here and it pushes the fork this way, therefore pulling. So the factory clutch inside of a 6-speed manual Supra is a pull type clutch. So basically it's under pressure, and then when you hit the fork it releases the pressure. So they've converted it to a push style. I believe that's for a feel, for the feel of it. Standard fueling system. So yeah, this fuel system could not handle. I think 700 was even pushing it for the style fuel system they're running. They even got a baby oil filter they're running there. That's not even the proper size. You're supposed to run a lot bigger than that. There's our wastegate, which should be vent to atmosphere. That's probably, if you wanted to make more horsepower, that's gonna be a big disadvantage. I don't know what brand that is. I'm sure it's probably Gretty. The exhaust is probably undersized too. So this exhaust probably could barely pull 700. Other thing I forgot to mention, you can make a lot of horsepower with this intercooler, but it'd be temporary horsepower. You need something a lot thicker. Usually the guys run at least 3 to 4 inches wide, and then this length. This could probably do 600-700 max. Just you get too much heat soak, so the intercooler stops being effective. So you need a lot more air, a lot more space for the air to get cooled. So you want at least a 4-inch. If you want to make the power I was saying before. Rack's been replaced recently. It's got the little marks on there. It's obviously been either a rebuilt or a used one, but honestly it's Japan, so used is not the end of the world because they made them until 2003. Another oil leak, it looks like. I'm thinking it's the lower oil pan because it doesn't look like there's any oil above it, which is pretty much, I mean, that's a dream oil leak right there. Oh no, it's the oil drain. Do those a lot. Yeah, so they probably just didn't seal the drain properly. So no, that's the old drain leaking. Not too bad, honestly. In my honest opinion, this car is not that bad at all. Not bad at all. HKS suspension, really good parts. I mean, not the best parts, but damn good parts. This would make a really good track car. It has been binged up. No, not binged up, just old. No obvious frame damage. That's a positive. Usually they get like crunched here. So it doesn't look like this car has been in any major accidents. So, and honestly, this is the biggest thing that some of you don't understand. There's almost no rust in here, which is shocking. Japan cars are rusted to shit. And usually these rails are the first to get to it. Like all the GTRs I have in the back, all the rails are basically rusted and smashed in. However, something that annoys me is it seems to be very common in Japan, but when they lift cars, they seem to just fuck them up all the time. Every Japanese car I get here, it's all smashed in like this. And I don't know how they manage to do this shit. I really don't. Like, I don't understand it. I have never done that on a car as long as I've been a mechanic. I've been doing this nearly 20 years. I've never done that. Yet someone in Japan seems to be fucking them all up. But that's every freaking Japanese car you'll ever look at. For some reason, the seals are just obliterated. But anyways, yeah, not a bad car. They've even done the flex joints recently. These are brand new. So they must have did that when they did the diff. This car's been really well maintained, really well maintained. It has that, so that's the drain off of your crankcase ventilation. You're not supposed to do that. That's for track only, but you're not allowed to do that. Usually you have to recycle it back into the intake. But yeah, as I was saying, no rust. Rails are freaking immaculate. Immaculate rails. Obviously the car has done a couple drifts, but not much. Honestly, if this is my car, I'd be that would have like a good 2-3 inches of rubber. Look at that, no signs of rear end impact. Look, that's the original bracket. No impact damage. No, this car's a cherry. Not a lemon, it's a cherry. This could be fun. Honestly, disappointed I don't have the money to buy this right now. I would love to give Rad Dan a run for his money. Plus, it's the side that I learned how to drive in. Yeah, I learned how to drive in New Zealand, so I learned how to drive on the right side. So believe it or not, driving on the left side for me is kind of hard. Yeah, viscous fan. By the way, for some of you, never convert a viscous fan unit to a electric fan unit. If you want to make high horsepower, the viscous fan unit is like the best cooling you could possibly ever have. So anyone who's out there who's trying to run electric, you're a fool. Unless you have to, that's different. If you have to run electric, that's different. But you always want to try to prioritize doing viscous. I am thoroughly impressed though. So, my thoughts to this whole thing is, yeah, usually, like I was saying, these are usually rusted up pretty badly. The oil leak, that's super common. That's actually really inexpensive to fix too. We're talking like a couple $100, and the parts are luckily still available. It's a good thing about a Supra is it was sold over here. The Skylines, I usually have to make the parts, or I have to, figure out like cross-reference between 300ZXs. By the way, a lot of parts that get shared between 300ZX and the Skyline. So yeah, no, the guys taking care of this over in Japan did a really good job. And if they're watching this video, I want to let you know that you guys are badass, man. I'm very impressed. Now, like I said, I'd buy a car off you guys any day of the week because you guys took damn good care. They did a really good job on this rear end. The only problem is the biggest difference between American and Japan is, the modified car culture in Japan, not the normal Japanese, because normal Japanese don't even know how to drive stick. But the biggest thing I notice is the enthusiast Japanese are more into raw cars. They don't mind the hardness of driving. They don't mind a lot of that. So the biggest problem with this is because this has a steel plate clutch. So the advantage of having a steel plate clutch in here in the transmission is that it almost never wears out, but it's super noisy and it does not slip. It it's either on or off, and you have to rev the shit out of this. Which for a track car, I mean, who cares? You're tracking it, but if you want to drive this in the day, it's not a good idea. So if I was trying to sell this to someone who plans on driving on the road, I'd probably get rid of the clutch. The other thing is, this is my diff. This is like my style diff. This is the diff I ran in my old car. I actually like these from ATS. The reason why I like them is they're not good for daily drivers, but they are just so reliable. They'll take a beating and keep on going. However, it's almost like a locker. I mean, it's pure locking. There's zero slippage. Like even when you're trying to pull it out, it's chirping like a locked diff. So, but I like the company. And by the way, nothing but positive about ATS. I really like Active Traction Services. So don't take that as any sort of dig on them. I have an account with them. I sell their products. I like their products. It's just for a particular type of car. Usually someone like me or someone who's like a track ready car. Not something you put on daily. I would actually recommend an OS Geekin for the rear because it drives almost like a factory diff, but still locks like this diff. And then probably an OS Geekin clutch too. But the difference is it'll almost double the price of the ATS. Probably even sometimes triple. So there's a reason for it. But yeah, that's everything on the car. And then of course, it needs tires. I mean, it's tires. Anyone can do tires. It's the standard in the world. So, I mean, these are probably my biggest gripe is if this is making 700 horsepower is, these are two 65s. So for 700 horsepower, that's the smallest tire I have ever seen. So like this is perfect for drifting. Like honestly, if you ask me what this car would be absolutely perfect for, I could take this car just changing the fuel systems and putting an updated computer on it and putting a cage on it and maybe an angle kit. That's it. That's all you need. You are ready for Pro 2. Like you could screw everyone over in Pro 2. You could literally oblate, obviously with a good driver. This car could destroy the competition in Pro 2. Pro 1, no. Just so you understand the difference between, it's such a huge gap nowadays. So Pro 1, you need basically a whole new car. Like you need minimum 1,200 to go in Pro 1 nowadays. But Pro 2 or Formula D, all that stuff, you could clean up. And you could probably clean up in Japan with this Formula D in Japan because the competition isn't so crazy as it is here in Pro 1. But as for a track car, by the way, just so we're clear, track cars are never good for Supras because Supras just too heavy. You can't take too much out of them. But one thing I completely forgot is, let's go down. The most important thing, which some people might not know, of course you guys see the body kit, but no, that's not what I was saying. So if you are looking for a Mark IV Supra in the United States of America, you're gonna find out that like 90% of them, 98% of them probably, have what's called the T-top or Targa top or convertible. The little thing, the roof thing that Paul Walker threw off when they were chasing the truck. This is a hard top. So why is that important? See, obviously in the 90s, that's a downside, which is why so many people bought the Targa tops. So that would be a downside if you were in America back in 1995, because you'd want to have a convertible sports car, right? But nowadays, most of the guys who are buying these cars are enthusiasts who want to have fun with the car. So almost no one uses the Targa top anymore because of, seals and the possibility. And also if you lose it or wreck it, the thing's like $2,000. The car also flexes with the T-top. So when you're going down driveways, you can hear the whole car creaking. So the structural integrity of the vehicle is just not there. So with the hardtop versions, the car's solid. So the car's handling, and also it's a little bit lighter. So that's a huge sale. So if you ever see a Supra going for sale, and I just dirtied that, I'm gonna wash that, sorry. My hands are dirty, I apologize. If you ever see one of these for sale and you're saying like, well, why is this guy, they're both the same Supra, they're both turbo manuals, but one's going for 98 grand, the other one's going for 60 grand. The answer is the Targa top. Like having a hard top is so rare. So stick shift, hard top are like primo items you want. Now in Japan, not that rare. because a lot of Supras got sold in Japan. They didn't stop production until 2003, so it's not that rare in Japan. However, in America it is. So the amount of Supras running around America with hardtops is not that many. But anyways, that's what I was saying earlier. That's a good track car. But so yeah, that is everything. That's pretty much the full inspection of this car. Not too much to do on the interior. I don't really do electrical. I'm not going to get into that. So that's going to be someone else. I don't want to touch that. Obviously I can, but what if you can do and want to do are two different things. So I don't want to get into that electrics, because I will mention every time I've gotten to the electrics in Japan, it just ended up being a nightmare. So I don't want to get involved with that. But yeah, I mean, it all works. I mean, I'll show. So yeah, it all works. It's all nice stuff too. It's just too much for me. If it was my car, I would just delete all of it. See. By the way, that's nothing wrong there. It's because of the tune from the F-Con. They're just not a good tune. But I don't think you can, in all honesty, I don't think you can tune those good. Oh, and there's our Japanese announcement that the navigation card's not installed. Very annoying. So yeah, there's our old school fucking F-Con 5 Pro. And there's our radar detector, I think. And you can't have a Japanese car without extra lighter plugs. You just can't. It's just not possible, man. Yeah, and these floor mats are a Japanese thing. They don't sell those in America. So yeah, I love these. I wish this car had the seats. There's seats they made with little speckles going on the seats. I love those seats. So yeah. So here we are in a Toyota Supra. So let's test AC. Working AC. Oh, we're missing our navigation card. Oh, brilliant. Gotta love working AC in a fucking race car. Now, love the roof on these, nice leather roof. Now here's what I'm saying earlier about the clutch. See? You have to launch it. Still missing a navigation card. There's no slipping in that clutch. Nothing like driving a Supra. because the idle isn't set up correctly. Car's not warm, so I'm not driving it hard. I'm literally just going into boost, which it's in bar. So no, they're like scaring the shit out of people. Car has no blow-off valve. That's not good. That's what that fluttering noise. A lot of guys like that sound. I mean, I like the sound too, but it actually just means you're damaging the turbo. So, needs a blow-off valve. Nothing like someone looking at you like, what the fuck is that? Believe it or not, that was only, I think it was only like 40, 50 miles an hour. I wasn't even spinning. Car drives really good. Steering wheel's a little off clock, so probably needs an alignment. Probably making about 600 right now. 550 to 600. It's not making the full 700 right now. I think they down-tuned it. It's a smooth tune though, but obviously once the gas is empty, that's the end of it. Because unless we can go get av gas. Drives really good. Drives really, really, really good. You know, for an HKSF con, this car actually drives really good as it is. I mean, you have to basically go get av gas to drive it on this tune. But 162 kilometers, so that's like what, 80,000 miles, 90,000 miles? Around about there. According to my navigation unit, I'm in the ocean right now. So if you're wondering what that noise is, it's the navigation saying, "You're dead." Navigation's like, "Why are you in the ocean? Get out of the ocean. You're not in Nihon." You gotta love a fucking nice screamer pipe, nice external flow. Not much else to say besides that. Yeah. Good car?